ladies and gentlemen, this is Trisha with Insectopia, and we are here looking at a whole nother buggy here. Another beetle at least. Last week I was requested to do a hister beetle. The common name for hister beetles are clown beetles. So this is our cute little clown beetle here. Now, admittedly, this common name clown beetle is a common name for a family level identification. So calling something a clown beetle is like calling something an ant, even though there are lots of different kinds of ants, or ladybugs are one family. So that just gives you an idea kind of what level that's broken down to. So clown beetles are in the family Hysteridae, spelled like this. Now, I do have the scientific name for this species. This individual is Hololepta aepualis, and that is spelled this way. Hololepta aepualis. I collected this specimen in 2010. So this specimen is 15 years old. It was collected in Lansing, Michigan. I do believe that I pulled it out of a log right next to the Grand River. Hello, Susan. The cool thing about this individual, this species of clown beetle, is that yes, it is predatory, but it is predatory towards grubs that feed on wood, that feed on like fallen trees and logs. So this clown beetle has to be really, really good at squeezing underneath bark and kind of going hunting for their prey. Right? Because they're a predator that wants to go out and find themselves yummy treats. Oh, before I move this, I do want to get a measurement for this beetle. So I'm not going to include the mandibles in this measurement. I'm just doing the front of the head. And we like these in centimeters. This beetle from the front of the head to the end of the abdomen is 1.10 centimeters long. Alright. If I did want to add the mandibles are an additional 0.14 centimeters. So that gives you an idea of some of the sizes of this beetle here. If there are any other sizes that you're going to want throughout the day, you can always let me know and I can come back and measure them for you. Let's go turn this specimen so that we can look at a lateral point of view. I know! Susan has all of the observations here. This beetle has amazing mandibles, which she lovingly called chompers. I love it. They have both geniculate and capitate antennae, meaning their antennae are both elbowed and clubbed. And the tibia are really wonky shaped because they're used to push themselves underneath bark so that they can kind of hunt down their prey animals. You are right, it is an excellent beetle. You haven't even seen my favorite part yet, though. perspective. And honestly, the width, like the height of this beetle, it probably equals like 3 or 4 pieces of paper. Like, not normal paper, but I was thinking like 80-pound kind of cardstocky paper. Like, if you took 3 or 4 pieces of cardstock paper and stacked them together, you would get the width of this beetle. I love it so much. And that's it zoomed in. I'm going to zoom this microscope out just a little bit, because if I have it here, I can get you an actual measurement as to how tall this beetle is from the top to the bottom. Alright, the widest part of this beetle is 0.16 centimeters tall. So if you want to get a really funny comparison, because it's where my mind went automatically, it is only 0.02 or 0.02 of a centimeter taller than the mandibles are long. Yeah, so admittedly, my favorite part about this beetle is how incredibly flat it is. And I am 100% sure that I did not step on it. Hermit flower beetle. I'm going to look up the hermit flower beetle and see, because I'm not sure. A flower beetle makes me feel like it's in the, it's a scarab in the subfamily for flower chafers. No, but it is a scarab. So it's not really too closely related, but I can see how the tibia could look similar, because the tibia are both kind of meant for digging a little bit. Fabulous. So, I'm going to go ahead and turn this beetle so that we can look at it from a dorsal perspective, hopefully. Turn the beetle. There we are. So at this point, I do believe, At this point, I do believe that we have gotten all of the measurements that we need. We've talked about where it was collected, when it was collected, a little bit about its behavior. So I think that it is about time to get this beetle sketched. There are other really cool things about this species of beetle as we're drawing, especially because it's kind of hard to see on the back right now, but the elytra don't cover the tip of the abdomen in this beetle. There are multiple segments of the abdomen that are visible from the top, which is kind of cool. So, welcome Bags, welcome Susan. I'm so happy to have you both here today. And all of you who are watching the live stream quietly, if you have any questions or comments, always feel free to reach out. Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and get this party started. One of the things that I think about when I'm first starting to draw this is that pronotum is giant. Alright? This beetle is pretty, like, wide, very, very stout. The width of the head is only about 1/3 of the width of the body. Maybe a little less than that. Alright. So I'm going to start the head with 2 parentheses. I'm going to make sure that the head stays fairly, like, I don't want the head to be too big, because the because the pronotum itself is going to be pretty wide, and then I also want to give space for those legs when they come around. So I'm going to give these two parentheses, I think that they have to be just a tiny bit further apart. That's better. Alright, so we've got the two parentheses to start as the head, and then I'm going to go a straight line across on the bottom, although I do know that when we zoom in, that's going to be more of like a U shape. And then we have those mandibles up in the front, and you know me, I like to get a light sketch of what's happening, but when we zoom in, we're going to kind of modify these shapes as needed. Your goal is just get them as close as possible. So we've got this mandible up here on the top left that does kind of come around. It's narrower at the top than on the bottom. And then you've got that nice, strong kind of V shape here. Now, I'm not going to spend any time with the maxillary palps or any of those little yellower appendages on the inside of the mandibles. Those appendages there, we'll add when we zoom in, along with the antenna. So, now I think the next part I want to get nice and lightly sketched in is that pronotum here. The edge of the pronotum does come up on either side of the head, and that's because the head kind of can tuck its way into the pronotum a little bit. This species does have the ability to protect its compound eyes, essentially. So when we zoom in and look, the length of the size of the compound eye is actually going to be able to fit into that notch that the pronotum makes. So once we've got that kind of estimated, now we get this nice big pronotum shape. Make sure that that arch stays out, kind of like. Make sure that you stay, that your shapes stay symmetrical. So whatever is happening on the left should happen on the right. And sometimes, I always say draw both sides first and then determine which side you like better, because I never draw the left and the right side the same the first time. But if I draw them both, then I have two examples of what it could be, and it gives me an ability to see kind of what I want to change. So I'm going to say that that's about right. I want to pull this in just a little bit more. Okay, we're going to go with something like this, and then when we zoom in, I will modify this shape a little bit. That pronotum does cut straight across horizontally, just like that. In between the elytra, if you're looking right about there, there should be a little itty bitty triangular segment that we call the scutellum. But because we're just doing a nice light outline right now before we zoom in, we're just going to get this kind of outside shape of the beetle drawn up. So it does kind of come in a little bit here at the pronotum, and then we're going to have a little arch that lets it kind of come out, so it looks almost like there's a little rubber band there, squeezing this space. Okay. Now the length of this pronotum here is going to be the length not of the entire abdomen, but of the shortest part of the elytra. So if you take this length here, whatever you have for your pronotum that made you feel good, kind of right about where you think that it should be, take that length, move it down here, give yourself a little mark right there kind of in the center. And that's going to be the end of your, that's going to be kind of, well, it's going to be an important point. So just kind of leave it there for a moment, I guess. I'll show you why. These lines on the edges come down and kind of run parallel, and I want to make sure that they do go kind of at least past this dot here, but a little bit wider is going to be great. That center line goes down to where your mark is, and then the elytra, and we are going to be kind of modifying this, but I want to show you what it looks like. The elytra kind of come down at an angle here. Admittedly, the body has the ability to kind of pick up a little bit of reflection. Right there is the end of the elytra and the beginning of this abdominal region here. And you can see what we would call the abdominal ventrites. Nope, ventrites are on the bottom. Tergites. Those are the abdominal tergites. You can see them on the top. Oh, right, we have at least 2 more segments of the abdomen to secure. So one of them kind of comes down, is going to give us this cute little ledge here. And then the next one is going to kind of be rounded along the bottom, like this. But the wild thing is that I do believe that this bottom segment is going to kind of be it's going to kind of cut up and create this like diagonal line. We're going to have to zoom in to see more of that, but that's right about what we're going to see. And then you do have all 3 of those legs, but because those legs are fairly visible, we're not going to sketch those in. Let's zoom into the head and see what it looks like. Check out some mandibles and stuff. Alright, so this is what I'm going to be able to do to show off the head here. The compound eyes, because they are black against the black body, are going to be really tricky to see. But the black compound eyes are right here, and then there's going to be another one right about here. That far one is fairly impossible. But this one I think that you can see. So that's the compound eye. There are no ocelli, so there are no simple eyes on this beetle. Exactly, Susan. Let me focus down for you, because you actually have 2 different mouth parts here. This part here and the outside too, you can see that those have segments. So those, and they're the ones on the top. I just know that from experience. But those are the maxillary palps. And I do believe if you look at them from the underside, they have 3 segments, even though only 2 are visible from the top. But the ones on the inside are not palps. The ones on the inside are something different. They definitely appear to be a bit of the mouth part, right? And the closest mouth part that I can think of that looks like would be the gallia. Is it A-E-A or E-A-E? It is E-A-E. Sometimes I get my letters mixed up. So, that inside, those are the gallia. So those are actually almost like a beetle tongue. They are going to have hair on them too. I'm going to see if I can get that hair in focus. We might need a little bit of micro focus adjustment here. Oh, decided to jump. Yeah. So that's what those are. They're essentially the tongue of the clown beetle. And they've got a stem along the outside, and then there's these very fine hairs along the inside. And those hairs are likely going to be uptake hairs, so they're going to be able to pick up any juices that the buggy leaks while they're eating it and kind of slurp them up through those hairs. I don't think so. I don't regularly see gallia. A lot of times the beetles have them hidden or kind of tucked up underneath or inside of their mouth, underneath the mandibles or inside of the mouth. They're generally an adaptation of the maxillary. So I'm going to get this, my head all drawn up, and if you have continuing questions, I can answer them. Alright, the compound eyes are right along on the edges here, left and right. They do not go any deeper than where the mandible touches the inside, right? So make sure that they don't go too far into the center of the head. And you know me, I like to erase the center in between that head there so that I've got the inside outline of the compound eye but not the outside, and then I recreate that outside line. Instead of just following the old one, I like to go just a little bit further past what was planned. It makes the insects look a little bit more bug-eyed. And in this case, it's going to give me more room for those antennae. Now, at the back of the compound eyes, you do have a tiny bit of head before it runs into the pronotum here. Let me focus up just a little bit, and we can look at catch up microscope. We're going to look up here at the top because I want to see what the pronotum looks like where it crosses the head. And it honestly, it looks pretty straight to me. So, right across the bottom of the head, we've got this nice, very surprisingly straight line all the way across. But then you've got those little mountains on either side that are going to help protect those compound eyes. Make sure that those mountains go at least half of the way up those compound eyes. That's going to be kind of your goal. And the edges of this pronotum, even though they looked kind of sharp from afar, I'm noticing now that they are fairly rounded. So make sure that when you get to that space, you give those corners kind of a nice round edge rather than being so acute or so sharp. I'm going to crosshatch inside the compound eyes. That looks like diagonal lines in both directions. That's going to give us all of those little individual lenses inside of the compound eyes. And then I'm going to kind of finalize these mandibles here for myself. The one thing that I'm noticing is that I don't think that I made the base of the mandibles wide enough on my drawing. So I'm going to change that slightly. So right around here, I'm liking the outside lines. I think I just need to fix the inside a little bit. So let's go ahead and get that sorted. There is a ledge above those compound eyes and before the mandibles start, because that ledge is required for the antenna. Alright, don't let yourself forget that. Now, I'm a fan of the outer edges here, so I'm just going to kind of darken those first. Also, on my mandibles, I made the tops really sharp, and even though they're predators, admittedly, the mandibles on the top here are more rounded than kind of very sharp and pointy. I lost my eraser 2 weeks ago. Arrgh. I really thought it was going to show up. That's fine. Okay, so, we've got that. It starts nice and narrow. I want to make sure that it gets wider than the previous one. So I kind of pull it in just a little bit deeper. Alright, so we've got some mandibles there. Now we're going to add those palps. I'm going to make the palps both about the length of that left one, because I'm a fan of that length. And we've got one segment, 2 segments on this side, 1 segment, 2 segments on this side, and then those are going to be kind of going towards the center there. Then you've got those cute little gallia, which are those base stems here. But then you've got all of those little uptake hairs, so I'm just going to give this some hairs. And we have some mandibles that look like they're ready to do their job. Now, the only thing left are on the head are those antennae. The antennae are both geniculate, which means elbowed, and they are capitate, which means clubbed. Alright, so on this beetle here, the first segment of the antenna, or the scape, is way longer than all of the other segments. And you can see that after that segment, it bends at like a 90-degree angle, and that is how we define geniculate. Even though most of the time when we refer to a geniculate insect, we're talking about a bee or a wasp or an ant. This beetle has them. Now, funny enough, it qualifies for 2 different antennal types. So the other antennal type the other antennal type it applies to is capitate, because you can see those big clubs at the end of the antenna. So there are actually more than one segment in those clubs too. So I think that that's given you enough time to write this down. And I had a question in the chat, which is, what are we illustrating today? And the answer would be, we are drawing the clown beetle in the species Hololepta aepualis. Alright. So now all I need to do is get these antennae sorted. So right here above the compound eye and below the mandibles, I've got one kind of nice longer rectangular segment that kind of comes out. It's going to be right around that length. So past the edge of this pronotum, kind of going out about. Now, I want to kind of, let's zoom into one of these antennae. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what I thought. Alright. There are 7 antennal segments after the scape and before the club. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So we've got one rectangular segment, and make sure that this next one kind of comes up at that 90-degree angle because you want it to look elbowed. We've got one. The next one is the same size as that rectangle, but instead in a triangular shape, so kind of more narrow on the bottom and wide on the end. And then the next 1, 2, 3 segments are kind of, admittedly, mostly round. 1, 2, 3. And then we have 2 more segments, and these segments get just slightly wider in kind of preparation for this club. Now, there's a really good illustration of this club in this book here. So I'm going to pull it out for us, and I'm going to show you, because the end of the club has this really weird, like really kind of small, weird segments. And I'll show you. I thought I would. Where the diagram is in here. It's just not in the place I thought it was. Oh no. Okay, never mind. I got my clubs mixed up. So there is an image of the clown beetle's antenna here, so I still can show that to you. It looks like this. I'm gonna move the camera. There we go. Oh, I could even do this if we wanted. So that is the antenna that we are looking at right now. You've got the scape here, the pedicel, and all of the flagellomeres. And I was corrected, that last segment right there is actually just one large bulbous segment at the end. And funny enough, this is even the same genus of beetle as what we're looking at here, because this is figure I, and I over here is Hololepta hysterity. How nifty is that? Alright, so that's the antenna type we're looking at, and I'm going to finish drawing that last, I'm going to finish drawing this last bulbous segment here. Oh no, it sounds like I froze. I'm hoping that I'm back. I'm going to finish drawing this nice round segment on the end while people are waiting I'm waiting for people to respond to me. It needs to be way wider than that. No! The humidity in this room is messing with my eraser. That's fine. We're going to leave it just the way it is. We love it. Alright, I closed the stream. I opened it back up, and YouTube is telling me that my stream is excellent now. So I'm hoping that everybody is back on track. Thank you for letting me know so that I could fix the problem. And I'm not sure if you saw the diagram, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you one more time. This is the diagram of this beetle's antenna in the Introduction to Insects book by Boren DeLong. And that club is just one segment, not multiple. Okay. Now we're going to zoom out out just a little bit. We're going to look at the pronotum. And hello, Hashi. It's so nice that you came in to join us today. And it's so good to hear from you. There's focus. Perfect. Oh, don't go past it. Alright, so that's a decent view of what our pronotum shape looks like. So we have that nice round corner here that makes our head look approximately like a third, but maybe a little bit over than that, of the width of the pronotum. I'm actually really happy with... I'm trying to decide which side is my favorite, because the left and the right side are slightly different. This left one comes down more vigorously, and the right one is kind of more arched. I think I'm happier with the left one. So I'm going to follow this nice line down this way, and then I'm going to attempt to get the right side to match the left side. Did I do it? I think I did it. Awesome. Fabulous. So you've got this, you've got the width of the pronotum here. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so that we can see. Oh, and I do have to rotate this beetle specimen. Sorry. The pin was in the way. Oddly enough, we always look at and look for the scutellum in between the elytra of the beetle, because I think that it's important to draw that cute little triangle shape there. But oddly enough, this hister beetle doesn't seem to have a visible scutellum. And that does happen in some beetles. Sometimes the scutellum still exists for this beetle. It just means that it's hidden. Means that it is not visible. Okay. So instead of taking this line straight across along the bottom of the pronotum, the bottom of the pronotum does U a little bit, but then once you get right there to the center of the body where the elytra are touching, we've got 1, 2 little mountains before we continue on. So I'm just going to make sure that we kind of fit that little wave shape into the beetle right here. So I'm going to erase this little white line that I've got. And from this one, I'm going to create a little bit of this U here. And then right here, right before we get to that center, we've got 1 little hill, 2 little hills, and then we're going to come back up on the other side. Now, something that I like to do, especially on beetles where we don't have a lot of textural or color designs to do, I like drawing in this little ridge here, especially when the ridge kind of catches light like this one. So on my beetle, I'm going to double up this bottom line and give it the ridge. I'm just going to make sure it doesn't touch the left or the right side. So that's going to look like this, kind of doubling up that line. I'm even going to follow these little hills here, trying to keep that ridge equidistant from itself the entire way, and then go all the way over to the other side. It just gives it this cute little ridge, a little bit of a detail here. That is, there we go. Ugh. It is visible. Now, on the elytra here, you can see the outside of the elytra right about here, and I can see this line that starts from here and goes up and diagonal in this direction. We also have the pin here that is an issue. So I'm going to rotate the beetle one more time to get the pin out of the way, and I'm going to increase the light. I'm going to overexpose this image so that we can see the lines better on the beetle. I got the pin out of the way for the most part, just blocks the part that we don't need to see anymore. Then I'm going to get this, the back in focus, and I can see those lines even better now. But let's go ahead and continue with this light. That doesn't really help much. Sometimes it does. Okay. So that gives us as best of a view as I can with the lighting and the available, oh no, that wasn't Terry. Don't grab that. Alright, here's Terry. So, a couple of characteristics. We've got this edge here is the elytra. The elytra ends right around here, comes up, creates this cute little mountain, and then comes back down. So that's that point that we have kind of already drawn here, but if your angle, looks like my angle might be a little bit too steep, maybe a little bit, but not by much. Never mind, I'm going to leave it. I'm a fan of this, but then along the outside edges, I think I might want to make the elytra just a little bit wider. And then I do want to add in these detailings here up on the top of the elytra here and here, because I think that those folds are really pretty. Also, from this view, you can see 3 abdominal segments. So we're going to be changing that in our drawing. That one goes 1, kind of arches up like this. That's 1. This one is 2, right here. And then the third one, this is that circular kind of abdominal segment that I showed you, that I kind of drew for us earlier. It's just that this is going to be a little smaller, and we've got 2 segments up there. I thought that there was something weird happening. Alright, so that gives us the ability to go ahead and get this all sketched in. I'm going to start inside the pronotum just a little bit more too. It's only a matter of time, matter of time, matter of time. Okay. Starting right around here. Going out. I'm just going to go out a little bit past the planned line before coming back. That's going to give this a little bit more shaping, I think. Oh no, they are kind of parallel. Okay, and then come in, go out, run parallel for a moment, and then come back in. Alright, so we've got those outside lines. I'm going to go ahead and solidify that center line and the split down either edge. I'm actually happy about where those both sat from our original sketch. One ridge that I would like to add is that we can see this kind of ridge here on the edge of the elytra on both sides. And so I'm going to add those here. Just a double lines around the outside, making sure that you don't touch the top or the bottom, because if you touch the top or the bottom, it doesn't look like a ridge, it looks like a suture. Okay. Then we've got one kind of small triangular hole here, and then one that is a little bit wider. Diagonal. Alright, so we've got those kinds of shapes happening in here. Now, let's go look. I'm going to just use the computer to kind of zoom in and focus down here for a moment. We're going to look at the end of the abdomen. Alright. So the find my screen. There it is. Okay. So the end of the abdomen here, I'm happy with the length of our body because we've been using kind of that ratio throughout the day. It's just that we're going to have to modify some of this inside shape, especially this guy here because it's got to be significantly smaller. Now, also the other thing is that these ledges here, instead of just being one down to that circular segment, there are actually going to be two. So let's go ahead and sketch those out. The first one kind of comes down like this. Alright, that segment is going to kind of curl up and go around. But I'm going to wait to do the inside lines until I get the outside done. So we've got that first one. We're going to do a second one here. And so because we did number 1 and number 2, we can also see where those lines end, so we'll know where the connection happens. And this last segment, instead of connecting right exactly where the last one ended, we're going to have a little bit of a ledge first, and then a little half circle here. So we've got this kind of shape happening. Now, this bottom segment here is actually circular. It's kind of oval shaped, which is what creates this really weird abdominal tergite area, because this guy kind of comes up like that. And so then the next segment comes up and goes down. So you have three visible tergites. After the elytra end on this beetle. I'm kind of curious myself because I believe I've seen a drawing of this beetle, and I'm not sure even. Let me use the key in the back. Hysterity. 417. Nope. Not at least a couple of pages about them. So if the drawing I have seen exists, it is buried deep in the book further than I want to look. So That gives us a decent, that gives us our body. I'm pretty happy with the head, the thoracic region. The thorax is going to be, this is just the first segment of the thorax. The thorax actually continues down probably to about the end of the elytra here. Ooh, I'm noticing I have to fix those glares. But that gives us a really decent body shape, and now all we have to do is add these legs. Now, the legs are really cool on this beetle. They've got all of these kinds of crazy looking tibial kind of shaping. And it's for pushing themselves underneath bark so that they can go and predate upon little beetle grubs. Just to let you know, I'm going to give you our leg words. Femur, tibia, and tarsi. Those are the major parts of an insect's leg. In the case of, whoa. Alright, so in the case of the front leg, we actually can't see the femur because the femur is so short. It is only the tibia that is breaking from past the pronotum here. And I'm about to get this in focus for us. Hopefully. Oh yeah, an auto exposure bag. So that it's not blaring everything out. Perfect. Love it. So we had to rotate this beetle just a little bit so that we could see it in its entirety. Now, the other thing is that the tarsal segments are kind of bent up way up like this. So you've got the tibia here. Yes, that's a tibial spine. It is on a joint. It can kind of rotate. Then you have the tarsal segments. They're coming up and towards you, kind of crazy like, but we're going to draw them like they're going straight because that's the direction they should be going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count 5 tarsal segments. There are 4 kind of small square to roundy shaped tarsal segments, and then there's the 1 raindrop segment. Those will be easier for you to see on the middle leg and the hind leg where the tarsal segments are not all the way wonky. Alright, let's get drawing it. Just to note, this white region here is a reflection on the tibia. So the tibia is this whole shape here. It just has a little bit of a glare from the light. So the tibia starts kind of narrow and then widens out. And then it kind of is flat right here at the end. And then as it comes back, it's got some texture, but it's got 2 primary kind of nodules on it. And I would say those are kind of more rounded than sharp, so I'm going to go over those and make sure that their edges aren't too incredibly sharp. And that is going to be my tibia moving forward. You also get the tibial spine here, so that guy on the inside. And then, coming along here, we get those 5 tarsal segments. Those look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, the 5th segment is that raindrops keep falling on my head. And then, 2 tarsal claws. Tarsal segment there, and the tibia. Alright, let's move back to the middle leg. I need to like refocus my microscope so that when it's in focus, my computer is also in focus. I'll like calibrate my viewer to the computer. Ah, very good. Don't move anymore. Hopefully it pauses right there. Yes! So, that is a pretty decent image of what we're looking at. This is the femur. It's almost this like kind of little stubby part here. Keep in mind that it does go significantly longer. You just can't see it from the top. The tibia here, you'll notice it almost has like two little spines here, and those are not like right next to each other. Those are... How do I want to describe it? Those are like 3D. I'll show you. So, if this piece of styrofoam was the tibia, those tibial spines are coming off of kind of the same place. Just on one side is on the close side and one side is on the far side. And we're kind of tilted like this. So, you can actually see the width of the side of the tibia by the fact that you can see both of those spines. Because if we were looking at it from a perfectly lateral perspective, you would only be able to see one. The femur is going to be visible at the very, very end of the pronotum right here. So I'm just going to give it that little rectangular shape, kind of coming down and around. It's got a little lip along the bottom if you want to draw that in. Alright, so that's the femur. Now the tibia. I'm going to draw the inside of the tibia first because that's a little bit smoother. Seems to be a little bit easier possibly. So we're just going to kind of come away from the femur and then down. And then across for those spines. And I am going to add both of them. I'm going to do this one on the front. I'm going to continue it up a little bit. And then I'm going to do another one kind of shaded and in the back. So that you can see that it is kind of distance. And then we've got two more. But those ones will be easy enough to kind of add to a line. So if I take this, finish that line, and then I can add one little spine and two little spines there, or two little points there. And that is going to be a decent tibia for that middle leg. I also have that tibial spur on the inside. We've got 5 tarsal segments. The first tarsal segment is rectangular this time, so these tarsal segments are slightly longer. 2, 3, and 4 are subtriangular. 2, 3, 4. And then you've got that raindrop shape, or what I call raindrop because it's kind of narrow on the beginning, round on the end. Then it's got 2 claws. I don't know, it looks like a raindrop to me. There you go, that's our middle leg. So now all we have to draw is the hind leg. And I think I may have drawn the tarsal segments just a little bit too big. I think it actually looks okay. And this is the hind leg. So if you've been counting and you're seeing this one, you would know that the tarsal formula for this beetle is 555. We write tarsal formulas like this with 3 numbers and dashes in between them, and when you see that, you're talking about the first leg or the pro leg The second leg would be the leg with all the meso information, and the third one is meta. But the first, the second, and the third pairs of legs. This leg comes out from the side of the body right about here, kind of at the base of where about the elytra kind of are starting to end. So I'm going to add this femur here. Keep in mind the femur is actually connected closer to the center of the body. Then we get the tibia. The tibia has a nice smooth along the inside. You still have that spine. We still have the two kind of spines here. And then as we go up, one significant one. Okay. And then tarsal segments. That is going to be the same as our middle leg. So that is 1 rectangle, 2, 3, and 4 are subtriangular. And then 5 is a raindrop. That's better. Alright, so that's the clown beetle for the day. We've got all the parts of the head, the pronotum, we were able to get all the legs in. I love the fact that even though this beetle looks nice and large, I mean it is over a centimeter long, I guess. 1.1 centimeters is not an itty-bitty teeny tiny beetle. It can be pinned in things. It's a predator. Those mandibles in length are 0.14 centimeters. And its height, so from the top of the beetle's body to the bottom of the beetle's body, is only 0.16 centimeters. This thing is very, very, very thin. We got to see that at the very beginning of the class, and I just wanted to repeat myself because that's my favorite thing about this beetle. Do I have... You're alright, Susan. Do I have any questions, comments, concerns about the clown beetle? Or is there anyone out there who has a suggestion for as to what we should draw next week? Because I always like to take your suggestions. And that makes it easier on the both of us. So I'll let you think about that. Did Hashi and Addie get to see the side view? I don't think so. So, Hashi and Addie, while you are still here, I'm going to turn this beetle sideways for us. That's perfectly lateral. This is how incredibly flat this beetle is. 0.16 centimeters. If you were going to take a handful of, like maybe 2 or 3 pieces of cardstock, that would be about the same. For instance, this ring here is wider than my beetle. That's so funny. Aw, you've always seen them loaded with little phoretic mites. I've seen that too, although this one, I don't ever take the mites off of it. So this individual actually never had any mites that I saw. Susan wanted to know if I had any skipper butterflies, and I do. So we can draw a skipper. I'll have to go through my skippers and pick the one that is best mounted, because I think most of the skipper butterflies that I pinned have been from when I was a child. So I don't know what the pin job looks like on some of those butterflies, but I will, I'll go through them, and I'm sure that I'll be able to pick one. Arranging mites on its back to make a picture. Oh, that's really funny, because I mean, it is flat and black, so you probably could like make a little smiley face out of mites on its elytra. That would be kind of cute. Alright, I think that is going to be the end of class. I have a suggestion for next week. I think that I've answered all of the questions. I do believe we've looked at all of the regions of the beetle that everybody was curious about. A mite light bright. Oh my goodness, that's fabulous. That's great, Bags. And if you have a picture of your phoretic mites, you can always kind of use that as a guideline to draw little mites on its back. Alright, I hope that everybody has a fabulous rest of your week. I teach on a platform called OutSchool for Kiddos. This is a notification that if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you can chat in the chat box, and it's a fabulous time. If you've really enjoyed the class and you have found some particularly fabulous knowledge and you want to throw me a couple dollars, you can feel free. That's a PayPal link. And then, way down here, that's my email address. I do my absolute best and try my absolute hardest to respond to all of my emails. That at Insectopia2015 is my Facebook and my Instagram tags. So if you were looking for me on another social media site. Quick look at the underside, of course. Alright. This is the underside of the head. You can see kind of where those antennae connect. You can see those nice compound eyes. If I zoom out a little bit more, we'll be able to see kind of where the legs are connected down here. Oops, that's too zoom. We'll be able to see the underside and kind of where the legs are connected. Admittedly, I think that these beetles are kind of funny because their coccyx, or their hip bones, essentially, are really widely separated in comparison to other beetles. So a lot of beetles, when you see their legs are going to be connected more closer to the center line. But the legs, the mesococci, are so widely separated. I think that that's hilarious looking. Now, the end of the mesosternum would be right here. That's the end of the second segment of the thorax. This is still a thorax because you haven't gotten to those third pair of legs yet. And you have to go all the way down here. Look at how widely his legs are separated. To find the hind legs here. And then these are those abdominal segments. Now the abdominal segments look totally normal from below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visible abdominal sternites is what we would say for that. But we know that this segment that we can see on the bottom that's like of normal size and kind of smallish is actually big and round on the top and really kind of wonky. Alright. I'm so happy, Susan, that you're seeing Carter Blue butterflies. That's fabulous. I was actually looking through Carter Blue pictures recently. Thank you, Chaos, for hanging out today. So I want to shoot a thank you out to everybody who has hung out today. That is Hashi and Bags and Susan and Chaos. You are all awesome, and I absolutely love chatting bugs with you every week. For those of you who didn't chat with me in the chat box, you're always welcome. And I hope that you all have a fabulous rest of your night. Go out and find buggies. Have a good one.